And we're live from the Side 2 Dojo Icelandic son of a gun, no son indeed studios via satellite. And on the other end of the line, of course, is the co-host to the stars, the host of the Ridiculous Nicholas podcast, the front man of Mr. Nick and the Dirty Tricks, training out of Team Link in Hooksett, New Hampshire, Nick, Mr. Nick David.
The crowd roars and erupts with enthusiasm that is unbridled and unrepentant. Yes. All right.
And also in the cage, guest Ted Pettingell.
Hey!
Can you hear Ted? I think that the microphone is essentially hanging under your ear, so I may have to whisper sweet nothings into it. I think that's how these microphones work.
I can hear you both pretty well through it with it sitting right there.
Through the grapevine.
So is this just an audio podcast, or can they get a video version of it as well?
So I like to put the video up as well because sometimes and it's just more immediate.
Yeah, the video goes up first, and then some people watch it. But the audio podcast is edited, and I take out a lot of the ums and likes and and pregnant pauses and the stupid shit that one of us might say that maybe we wouldn't want everyone in the world to hear. So mostly me.
So you're really hardcore fans are getting to really take in how awkward it is for me and Kona to be recording this together.
Yeah, two heads being put togetker.
That's why it shut down before, because I was trying to take a screenshot of of my iPad so I could mock you, but it backfired.
Hey, this is just
it backfired on me, and my iPad shut down, and then we lost connection, and
here we are.
Hell broke loose.
But let me tell you this, Nick. This is not to be mocked. This image is going to be on a white T-shirt that Ted and I both purchased at the mall.
Yeah, we are going to have 4 different pictures, all different poses, to celebrate our day at the boardwalk.
Western clothes.
It's pretty lovely. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute, little ones.
At least we'll show our whole face. Look at you, Mr. Only the nose down.
Is that better?
Are you not wearing a hat?
Okay. When I'm back here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I never know with this thing if you're getting the audio, if the audio is coming back out through the jack from my microphone, or if it's coming in through the.
Oh my God! Stop that. That's very obnoxious. Oh my God! It looks like E.T. in a porno. POV porno. Okay, I think that.
All right, enough finger porn, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about mixed martial arts, shall we?
Sure.
Let's see.
I almost forgot that there was a Bellator event on Saturday. Forgot I was going to a big barbecue. I was able to do both, but I watched most of the Bellator the following day. No UFC, but some UFC news for sure.
Well, there's UFC on Wednesday, so we haven't done a podcast since then, so we can talk about that.
True. Sioux Falls, which actually was maybe even more exciting than the UFC 200 card in terms of finishes and
fights. Holy shit! I don't think maybe. I think that the fights on that card were better than the fights on UFC 200, or better than.
Well, the UFC 200 was a kind of a decision fest for all the prelims, and there was exciting moments in the main card, of course. Return of Cain Velasquez throwing a spinning wheel kick. It was legit.
Not all of the prelims. Joe Lozon got knocked the fuck out.
No, the Fox Sports 1 prelims were all decisions. The Fight Pass prelims were exciting. There were 2, Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi.
Yeah.
2 first round knockouts. And I mean, there was some good spots. I really enjoyed the Jose Aldo Frankie Edgar fight, even though it was largely a defensive fight by Aldo. Ted, you watched
he played
the whole thing,
Aldo
right?
definitely played it safe. Aldo definitely, he wanted to make sure he was going to get that shot back at the title. He doesn't. I don't think he is a fan of not having that belt around his waist. So he wanted to make sure that that thing gets back there. And you know, I don't. I'm not sure about what's going to happen when he runs into McGregor again. I think McGregor really got in his head the first time, and I think he rushed in and got caught. And you know, I think what he will probably do is fight a similar fight to what he did against Frankie Edgar and play it a lot safer the second time around. I don't think he's going to go in there half cocked and start, you know, winging shit at him because he's mad because he saw what that got him the first time. So I wanted to talk about Landon. What is his name? Tell me his full name. You know his name, Kona.
Oh,
Landon punches.
Was that Pettingell?
Yeah.
Teddy P.
Yeah. Is it
P with
Lando
no
Vatten or something? Lando.
Yeah, let's look it up because I want to give
His name is definitely
I want
Lando.
to give this guy credit because holy fucking shit. He came in against one of the baddest motherfuckers and didn't give him he did not give him any respect. He was not worried about Ferguson one bit. And Ferguson was getting some punches off, and at first they didn't look like they were doing much. The first 3/4 of the first round, it looked like he was taking them all in stride. And then somewhere at the beginning of the second round, obviously you could tell that when he was getting hit, he was shaking them off. He was trying to shake them off. So you could see that that Ferguson was really getting him in. But goddamn, he knocked Ferguson down I don't know how many times, and he got knocked down so many times. That was a fucking crazy fight. I haven't looked to see what was the fight of the night, but if that wasn't the fight of the night, I don't know what the fuck was on that card.
It was the fight of the night, yeah.
Okay, good. Because Jesus Christ, that was a contender for fight of the year, and dude making his octagon debut against one of the most dangerous guys in that division, and god damn, I want to see that. I can't wait to see that guy fight again. I can't wait to see that guy fight again on a full camp against someone who he's studying, and if that's the kind of trouble he's going to give Tony Ferguson on 2 weeks' notice, Christ. And I'm still looking. I still have to look up his name here. So
okay, well you can look it up while
you and Teddy talk about something while I look up.
Well, Ted did not see that fight. I did have a couple people come over.
I was invited, but I was lazy, didn't get off the couch.
Yeah, which is fine. I actually rushed home from a comedian type of meeting to sit on the couch and watch this card. But what I would like to see is a fight between Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov in the near future, and I'd like to see on the undercard to have Daryl Horcher, the guy that fought Khabib, and this guy Lando. Did you find it yet?
Not quite, but
Lando Vittel. You're definitely on Facebook talking about politics.
No, I've actually sworn off it, dude. I swear to God, today I stopped myself 4 different times from posting shit and commenting on shit. I was like, nope. I'm just going to post cool shit that I do and fun shit that I do, and I'm done talking about politics on Facebook as much as I possibly fucking can.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any good. It doesn't serve any fucking purpose. It doesn't. There's never a good result. It's not like someone goes, "Hey, shit, you're right. You're right. Obama is not a secret Muslim. You're right. Nobody
Yeah,
ever does that.
Why would they agree with that? That's a lie.
Yeah. So I just am trying to swear off from it, dude, because it's never any good. It just doesn't work out.
Very true.
It just doesn't work out. So I'm just trying to share cool shit about music, cool shit about comedy, cool shit about podcasts, cool shit about friends, cool shit about family, fun, interesting, cool shit, and fuck all the political shit and social commentary. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna try. I'm trying, dude. I can't. There's no guarantees, but that's what I'm gonna try and do. Anyways, as I was defending myself there and trying to tell you where I'm at, I was looking up Tony Ferguson, and it was Landon Venata.
Lando Venata.
Landon, Landon.
Well,
Landon
they called him
Venata.
Lando for the whole
You're thinking Lando Calrissian.
broadcast. They did. Yeah.
Landon Venata.
Billy D, Hercules.
I was actually pretty close with.
While I was sitting here talking to you, my wife brought me out some pasta.
Oh.
I was pretty close with. If his name is Landon Venata, and I said Landon a lot of punches.
Yeah, you did.
I was pretty close.
How is that not his fucking nickname?
He's a wrestler.
Yeah. I don't know how that's not his nickname. Landon Punches. Landon Punches Venata. How perfect is that? How can you not? How did he miss that? What's his fucking nickname? Let's see what his nickname is.
It doesn't have one on his fighter profile.
On a second tier.
Landon Plains.
Yeah, could be.
Landon Plains. Like Captain Sully.
Yeah, at the same time, I thought it was a very entertaining fight. I wish he finished it. I think he came close when he dropped him with that leg kick that Ferguson wasn't expecting. Landon kicks, more like it in that sense.
Leg kicks, spinning attacks, elbows. Fucking Christ. God damn it, he was throwing everything. Takedowns.
But at the same time,
and he was
I don't know.
Weird. He was throwing him he was so weird. The way he moved was such a strange thing to watch, how he moves and his movement, but his evasiveness for the first half of the first round was amazing. And then the second half, Ferguson landed a few, and then the beginning of the second round, Ferguson was really starting to land on him. And it was funny because it was right as Kenny Florian was talking about how evasive that he had been. You're like, Landon's so evasive, and then it was like, back. Just like all these like punches that were not missing. None of them were missing. But he was the breakout star for me for that card. I was nothing but impressed with his performance. I'm a big Tony Ferguson fan, and I thought Ferguson was going to walk through this guy. I didn't know anything about him. I hadn't watched his videos. I hadn't done any research on him, so I didn't really know. And God damn, what a pleasant surprise to see somebody come in and give him such a run for his money.
Yeah,
you can't get much closer to finishing a fight without finishing it.
Yeah, but at the same time, he was easily finished when Ferguson basically just reached over him and grabbed him in the darce from a standing position and then fell to the ground.
It wasn't so easily. He had to hunt him down for 2 rounds before he started landing punches on him.
I'm talking about the specific sequence, not the lead up. But when he first landed, and it is Lando. It says Landon on the Sherdog site, but all over the UFC page and MMA Junkie, which is USA Today, it says Lando. So we'll have to take this to Sky Court, Star Wars style. But
Lando, don't call me Landon.
Well,
Lando, don't call me Calrissian. Lando, don't call me a Calrissian Venata.
Yes, but Nick gets all of his information from Sherdog.
That's a good idea. Internet court, and you can solve Facebook disputes. That could be a TV show.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That might be our millions. That might be our millions right there, boys.
You can do that as a side project YouTube show where we just solve people's problems.
But it's always trial by combat.
Yeah. Trial by combat. Game of Thrones? Okay, moving on.
I choose violence.
Yes, yes. Wow, are you beating the shit out of that pasta?
I was stabbing it pretty violently.
Yeah, it's great podcast sounds.
Pretty good pasta.
Okay. Oh, good.
Some
Talking
pesto in
and clicking. Hey, can you slam on the table a little more? How about pop a few pieces of gum in for dessert? Ted, don't scratch your beard. That picks it up too. If I had some ice cubes, I could jiggle. Oh, are there any in your cup? Oh no, a little bit. More like just.
If I
How is the
only had some
limoncello
cubes.
polar?
It's pretty mediocre.
Yeah. Well, some people like tasteless seltzer. In any case. Whoa, whoa. It's my joke.
So I guess we could talk about Lineker too. On that card, coming out knocking out Michael McDonald. It's you know they were kind of praising Lineker and talking about how he needs a title shot and dude. Listen, I like Lineker. I think he's great. He's a very entertaining fighter, but he is a plotter, dude. He just plots forward, and he doesn't have any movement. And he's against Mighty Mouse Johnson. He's gonna get.
Well, no. Mighty Mouse Johnson fights in division low. Lineker's a bantamweight now because he couldn't make the flyweight limit.
Oh.
So they're talking about him fighting Cruz because of.
Oh, well, that's even worse. That's even worse scenario because Cruz moves even better than Mighty Mouse does.
Yeah.
So
I think that would be a weird one. I mean, I think that if Cruz could, but the problem is Lineker throws these body shots that are. I mean, his movement is that he's shorter than everyone in the UFC, pretty much. I mean, he's short for a flyweight and he's a bantamweight. So, but the body shots are what does it. He'll beat you to the body and then finish you with the head or with a submission. And it's, yeah, he did it pretty easily against Michael McDonald, who just wanted to stand in there and throw punches with him, which was not the correct plan of attack. When you're
I think they're both good fighters. I think they're both journeymen. I don't think that they're neither of them are even close to the level of a Dominic Cruz or a TJ Dillashaw or a Renan Barao.
Yeah, but at the same point, the question isn't really at the level, is he worthy of a title shot? I mean, he has, is it 5 or 8 wins in a row, and most of them have been dominant finishes. Who's at the top of there's TJ, I guess you could do a rematch, but I feel like you want something exciting and new in a division that's been largely the same. It's been, the first through is all Barao for a very long time. And
I think the fight is
Dillashaw.
Mighty Mouse. I think that's the fight.
Yeah, but he's not in that division. You want Mighty Mouse to fight Cruz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about Mighty Mouse coming up a weight class.
Okay. I think that Mighty Mouse is still trying to do that consecutive title defense thing, even though his last fight against Wilson Hayes got thrown out for UFC 201 because he's injured. So I don't know. I feel like.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that? Mighty Mouse is injured and out of 201. I think you told me about that. Yeah, or I mean, it's not happening. He's not defending the flyweight title on the undercard of Lawler and Woodley in Atlanta, coming up July 30th on pay-per-view. Yeah. So he's got that. So I think that is what will set back the super fight. If they were to do a super fight, I feel like they would build it up around something big, perhaps International Fight Week next year or something. But I think Cruz is more interested in a super fight with Conor McGregor. At least that's what he said.
Everybody is.
I know,
everybody is.
But
fucking Cain Velasquez would get in there with him if he could.
Right.
Everybody wants a piece of that guy. Everybody that gets a piece of him comes out a millionaire. So why wouldn't you want to fight him?
Yeah. Well, So that exactly. And well, what's the more logical super fight if you're Conor
I'd like
McGregor?
to see I'd like to see Cruz come up, and that's a great fight. That's a hell of a fight. We can pack on enough pounds to.
But would you rather see that than Conor McGregor versus no, than Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, say?
I would definitely rather see Conor McGregor versus Dominic Cruz, 100%.
Okay.
It's not even. There's like 6 other fights I'd rather see than see him fight Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the one that's probably more likely to happen, only because what does McGregor have to? He'll just be the featherweight champion against the bantamweight champion with no consequences on that kind of a super fight. It's almost a super fight that he would be taking just as a cool what if, and I think he's more likely to want to go up and unify the belts if he can. But because it's also whatever, Alvarez called him out on that in the post-fight presser as Ted yawns. Ted.
I'm not yawning. Breathing deeply.
Okay. My armpit is right here. How the?
It's fine.
Good. I smell more like suntan lotion.
If you guys start making out, I'm gonna.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna keep eating my pasta. I'm gonna keep eating my pasta.
Yeah. Good. Well, I don't know if when the next super fight will be, if there will be one. I feel like there's too many moving parts, and the only super fight. What makes a super fight? Does it have to be 2 championship belts, or can it just be 2 iconic figures from different weight classes fighting? Is there any magic left to George St. Pierre?
2 iconic people, because that could be. I still consider George St. Pierre versus Anderson Silva a super fight. That's a giant fight. And neither of them are title holders, and one of them doesn't even fight anymore. So
yeah.
I still call that a super fight all day long. So I don't think it makes. I don't think it takes people having to have a title in order for them to consider it being a super fight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was excited for the fight, but I didn't think that going into it, Brock Lesnar, Mark Hunt was a super fight. But
I don't consider that a super fight.
Yeah. Why? Is it because there's less star power behind Mark Hunt in the public perception beyond the hardcore UFC people?
No, I mean, Mark Hunt is not. He's not anywhere in the pound for pound rankings, as far as I know.
But it's heavyweight, so I feel like pound for pound matters less.
He's just not a huge name. He's not a huge name. He's not a giant draw. He's not. People aren't clamoring to see him in a fight against. If you put whoever you put on the other side of Conor McGregor, it doesn't matter if you put him up against a refrigerator or if you put him up against a fucking bobcat. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Everyone's going to tune in to see the fight because it's Conor McGregor. You can't say that for Mark Hunt. You can't say that. You can say that for GSP. You can say that for John Jones.
I counter that with Mark Hunt fought for K1 and Pride in Japan in front of crowds of 50,000. He could be a celebrity over there. He's big in Australia, other parts of the world. Whenever they have a big card in Australia or New Zealand, they always put Mark Hunt on it, if not the main event, in the co-main event. He hasn't fought in Vegas in a while. He's still a top 8 fighter in the world. He's fought for the interim championship before. He was the
Yeah, I
one
mean,
that came in.
we've had this discussion before about how I felt when the UFC absorbed Pride.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
not
that's
at all
not the
excited
discussion I'm
about. I
making.
was not at
Your
all excited
discussion. Yeah, your discussion is you weren't a fan of him when he was first here. But I'm just saying that's still a draw. He's still a guy. He might not have been the most skilled kickboxer in a kickboxing league, but just the way he throws fists knock people out, and people like finishes. I mean, I feel like he is a big draw, but I still didn't really think of this as a super fight. I thought of it as more of a novelty thing for UFC 200. I guess if it happened,
That's exactly how I felt about it.
yeah,
A freak fight.
yeah,
Yeah, a tentpole fight, a circus.
yeah. Not quite
nice.
the circus fight as the fight before, or 2 fights before, Cormier and Anderson Silva, 2-day Anderson dad bod.
Yeah, they're pretty comparable though. I think they're pretty comparable. Even the way the fights played out, you know. I think Cormier and Mark Hunt both. Cormier and Brock Lesnar both had a very similar plan of attack. They were both going against far superior strikers, and they wanted to put them on their backs and try and pound them out.
Yeah. Ted, you saw these fights as a casual MMA observer. What did you think of the overall fight card?
I thought they were all they were fine to watch. They weren't terribly exciting. They all kind of, there were no surprises. Like by the end of the fight, like as far as the decisions went, you knew who was going to win.
Yeah. I think the Aldo one was the only one that went to a decision, though, because Velasquez was a finish. Well, no, that's not true. The Cormier Anderson Silva was pretty obvious.
Yeah, and the Lesnar.
And the Lesnar. Oh, yeah, sorry.
And
the Aldo Edgar fight too was a decision.
I mean, that was a decision.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the most exciting of any of those fights, but it was also pretty obvious by the end that Aldo had it.
He was toying with him to the point of Eugene S. Robinson, who does the Knuckle Up podcast, is one of my favorites. He pointed out that the kind of mind games that he did, and I noticed it too because our friend Greg Pavarnik was over and watching the fights with us, and he hates it when people touch gloves at the beginning of the round specifically. Yeah, it's one thing if they touch them when the ref is doing the instructions in the beginning, but he hates it when they slap high five. And some guys don't do it. And Aldo was making sure to do it. He was holding it up, and Frankie would almost just punch it as a begrudging acknowledgement. And Aldo would do that the entire time. He would just wait on the defensive. He wasn't jabbing or doing leg kicks, his two most effective measures in the fight before. Two very big things that Frankie could have planned for, and he did neither of them.
That was surprising and smart.
Yeah, he didn't. He threw
three.
He threw 3 leg kicks, and I think they were all in round 5. So, and that's after Frankie's legs are fucking probably tired from all the moving he did throughout the fight. In distance traveled, it was almost 3 times that of Aldo, who sort of just patiently waited back and threw combinations when he had to, but he'll just let Frankie tire himself out, and he bloodied him up when he could, just stuffing every takedown like it was just the simplest thing for him, which he's pretty good at. I don't think he's ever been taken down in the UFC in all that time, except when McGregor knocked him down in 13 seconds.
Aldo?
Yeah.
I think he's been taken down, but I think he has really good.
He's got one of the best, and he's never looking to take you down unless he's hurt, I guess. But yeah, the main event we talked about it last time. We're just kind of backtracking and bouncing off stuff. Ted, of course, like me, did not see the main event live. Misha Tate get finished by Amanda Nunes in spectacular fashion. But we did watch Bellator 158 on Saturday, so let's get to that. Of course, the wasn't the main event, but it was the big headline-stealing shot heard around the world from London.
In my case, felt around the world because my stomach turned when I felt bad for.
So let's just say what it was for those. I mean, yeah, I'm sure most people know by now because it even became an internet phenomenon with GIFs and stuff. So it was mostly known for the finish, which to capitalize on the Pokemon Go thing, Michael Venom Page put on a Pokemon hat and threw a ball at the grounded Santos. Now, to be fair, this is something that he had planned on doing all along should he win, and he did it immediately after it was over, so before he knew about the severity of the knee injury. So, sorry, the knee to the head injury, this caved-in forehead.
And for those of you that didn't see it, it's Michael Venom Page threw a knee to Cyborg Santos and ostensibly crushed his fucking skull.
Yeah.
I mean,
right above the eyebrows.
Yeah, his skull is in a bunch of different pieces, and there's when you see a picture of Cyborg, his head is dented in.
Yeah.
And I've seen the pictures of him in the hospital with his head dented in, and then you see the X-rays, and there are, I don't know, probably 10 or 20 different pieces of skull that are just crushed.
It looks like a
he's not out of the fucking woods, man. That's the thing that scares me. That's the thing that scares me is that he still could not survive this, dude. He's not out of the woods. He has to. They're waiting for the swelling. He wants surgery in America. He wants to go where the best doctors are. He doesn't want to do surgery in London. He wants surgery in the United States. And so they're waiting for the swelling to go down for him to get back to America. They might not be able to do that. The swelling might get worse. It might get into an emergency situation where he has to have surgery in London. It's scary, dude. That's scary. You can't fuck around with your brain like that. It starts to swell up. They have to start taking pieces of your skull out. So I know a little bit about this. I had an aunt that had a really serious brain injury, and they had to take a section of her skull out to allow the swelling to continue. Otherwise, it would have just fucking crushed her brain. The swelling would have just suffocated her brain. So it's really scary, dude. When I saw that, I just, God damn it. It's not, when I was 20, I probably would have went, yeah, that fucking guy's a skull crusher. But I don't feel like that at all. I just feel awful about it.
Yeah.
I just feel awful about watching it. I feel awful about it happening. I just feel awful about the celebration that happened afterwards. But it could still die. And
I think I prefaced that I didn't know the severity of it until the next day. I knew it was a devastating knee, obviously, but it was from a standing position. He was sort of shooting in. I didn't realize the sound of it until friend of the show, shout out to John Paul Rivera, mentioned it to me. And then I played it with Ted. I didn't want to play it back because it just sounded like a baseball bat. And one of the medics on site said it was akin to one of the most severe car crash injuries. So, it's pretty scary. Hopefully, he's okay to fly. And Bellator has said that they were going to pay all the medical bills and give him the bonus he would have got had he won the fight. So, good on them.
It's a small price to pay.
I don't want him to ever fight again.
He's still talking about it not being his last fight. It's like, dude, if that's not the fucking thing that gets you to exit, what the fuck is it? What needs to be smashed into a million pieces for you to go, all right, I'm done with this game?
Yeah, well, I think him wanting to fight is the biggest example of brain damage and why we should not let him fight. It's because he's saying, no, I'm fine. No.
Yeah, he needs to be done. He needs to really be done. You can't. You don't. Fuck that. God damn. It's just horrifying. It's horrifying.
Yeah. It was a crazy card, though. I mean, I watched some of the, I would call it the winded heavyweights prelims. I watched
Matt Mitrione versus.
I watched that. Yeah, that Matt Mitrione's quick turnaround from almost being pretty much knocked out and then winning by knockout eventually. But he had a much harder fought knockout win this time around at 158. So good on him. Matt Mitrione is he said he wanted to keep making money in Bellator and have his wing and car paint sponsors on him, and yeah, he's got 2 solid wins. But again, who the fuck are these guys in the heavyweight division anyway? I mean, they had a champion that hadn't defended the title in 2 years, so it's just these are still chancy fights, because that's why I was arguing that heavyweight doesn't even matter in the pound for pound discussion, because these are just big dudes that can knock out anyone with the happen to be finding the right angle. I don't know.
Right. I mean, that's the thing about the heavyweight division. We've said it here on the podcast a million times. We've heard it on other podcasts and TV shows a million times. Anyone in the heavyweight division can knock out anyone else. Anyone in the heavyweight division can knock out any other heavyweight in the heavyweight division. Everyone's that heavy-handed. You just can't. There are no light punchers in the heavyweight division. So there's that.
Right. But the Bellator heavyweight division is just a very big mystery to me. That's all.
Yeah.
All I'll say. But I mean, that's so what? There are a lot of the roster is too. Can you hear it?
Take a break for a second.
Okay. Yeah. Exciting short fights earlier in the card. I forget if they were on the prelims or if there was one on the prelims, but there was a Darce choke win, and all the fights are on spiketv.bellator.com or some combination of those letters and numbers. There are no numbers in that, but dot is a decimal point. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay.
I can hear you, yep.
Anyway, muttering on about Bellator. Brock Lesnar got a notification from USADA for what could come out to be a inhaler. So, but doesn't matter. I guess we'll sort of see. I think it really just doesn't matter in general, because he came back, he did his thing, people watched it, he took his money and left. He was going to do that anyway.
Yeah,
Will USADA ban
really
him for
cares.
2 years? No. Brock
don't think
Lesnar
he
does
cares.
what he wants, and that's pretty much it. It's not like it's sullying the sport. I mean, it would have ruined it if him and John Jones were pulled off of it, and then it was just it. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened.
Then maybe it's Cormier versus
Mark Hunt? Cormier versus Mark Hunt?
Mark Hunt.
That would not have been cool with Cormier, I bet. He would not be very enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, I think he'd have a lot harder time putting Mark Hunt on his back than he did Anderson Silva.
Yeah. What did you think about Cormier's comments about being starstruck by Anderson Silva and kind of not wanting to unload with punches to this legends that was coming in on 2 days' notice to at least give the fans a free fight or a fun fight? Not free. He got paid more than Cormier did, at least in upfront fight money for this short notice fight. What do you think about that? You know, Ted, you too. You saw the fight.
I guess I get it. I mean, he's one of my idols too. So if I was in there, for whatever reason I was in there, and he was beyond his prime and I was in my prime, I wouldn't want to put the screws to him. Probably. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not, again, like, I'm a pretty casual fan, and I thought the fight was fine. You know, at the end, Silva actually kind of had a little bit of a run right at the very end of the fight, not enough to really make a difference.
But I feel like he staggered him. He could have with that big kick to the head. Yeah.
But it's the guy. You're both getting paid. You're both there for the same reason. I mean,
and there's no fucking consequence to the fight. It's not for a title. It's just.
Yeah, and you're like, I mean, I get like you want to play it safe, and you don't want to like expose yourself to unnecessary risk and lose a very winnable fight. But also at the same time, you don't want to play it, too safe and look like you're not trying very hard.
Yeah, or as Donald Cerrone calls it, fighting like a fag.
Yeah, I don't.
You mean he just keeps trying to kiss him?
Cormier wasn't real happy with that.
Nor should he be.
Really
this was the day after. It was the day after the first.
Saying something like that, but.
Yeah, that was pretty shitty. Especially one day after the first ever openly gay UFC champion ends their biggest pay-per-view in history.
Right,
Cowboy Cerrone.
With the win and becomes champion.
Kissing her girlfriend over the cage, who's also a UFC strawweight. But yeah, poor.
I thought you were going to say also a lesbian.
No.
That's what I thought you were going to say too.
Yeah. Fellow lesbian girlfriend. She could be
also a gay fighter.
Not as committed to the relationship as the other. Cowboy Cerrone, fucking up big time. But hey, they sold the company the next day, so he's someone else's problem now.
In the WWE,
so I guess that's the other. Did we talk about that? So
well, we did a
little bit.
Yeah, we got into it a little bit. It's a learning process. It's going to be 2 years until we see what happens. I mean, will WMEIMG get the UFC out of their Reebok deal sooner? They're supposed to be locked in for 4 years, but WMEIMG has a relationship with Under Armour through The Rock, who they also represent. So there could be other changes, but one thing is for sure probably not going to happen is a fighter pay increase because nobody buys a company that immediately gives everyone raises. So
well, here's as much as the UFC is a corporation, I don't think that those guys are really corporate guys. The Fertitta brothers and Dana White are, lunkheads from Southie. They're boxers. they're not.
The Fertitta brothers are from Texas.
So the point that I'm trying to make is, they have run their company as much as they've run it as a corporation. I'm sure it's a much more lax than when you bring in a real corporation like that. And when you bring in real corporations like that, their bottom line is dollars. And so I don't foresee in the immediate future of a takeover, I don't foresee there being a fighter pay increase. Though that's what I would ultimately like to see. I think everybody that's not the company that just took over the UFC, I think everybody else would like to see that as well. I really enjoyed at UFC 200 seeing that's what motherfuckers should be getting paid. When you're seeing six-figure paydays for many of the fights, it's like, yes, that's right. Yes, that's what these motherfuckers are worth. Yes, that's what these people are. They're putting their bodies in danger on a daily basis for our entertainment, and they're the best athletes in the world, and they deserve to take home a larger piece of the pie. So hopefully that's something that will happen.
Well, at the same time, TJ Dillashaw complained about the pay that he received fighting on the undercard of UFC 200. So, fluid situation, obviously. We'll see how things happen. I don't know. I guess after the next few cards that weren't already mostly booked, and then you'll see the first real full WME regime, but it's still
Yeah,
Dana
I don't.
White.
Did
It's
you?
still the
Did you?
matchmakers. It's not. They haven't changed that yet. So largely, that aspect of the UFC is the same. I guess their negotiating power may be different, or the approach to it may be different, at least from the standpoint of the fighters' managers and representation
I
trying
didn't.
to get more out of this new negotiation because there's a different people funding it, and they now have the leverage of saying, well, you just sold this for 4.6 billion. Are you saying you can't give me $20,000 more than I got last time? I guess it depends on the fighters,
Yeah,
but
well, once you, I mean, that's the worst time to ask for a raise. Your fucking boss is out $4.6 billion, so they just
it's
shelled
not
out
your
all the money
boss
to buy the
anymore.
company, huh?
Oh
No,
yeah.
it is your
Oh yeah,
boss.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Your
yeah.
old bosses are in the money now.
Yeah, yeah. Your
True,
new
true.
bosses
Okay.
just
Excuse
shelled
me.
out a
Yeah.
shit ton of money, so it's the worst time to ask for a raise.
True. I guess
Yeah, how about you wait till we start getting a little ROI?
right. Yes. Excuse
So,
me. That was a dumb mistake.
so did you notice on that um, on that card on Wednesday? Did you notice anything different? Anything that would signify uh, their takeover? I was trying to look for graphics and other things, advertisements on the canvas, on the octagon walls, or any kind of thing, anything that was different, anything that was handled differently, that looked differently, and it looked exactly the same as it always looked. I didn't notice anything different about it. I was wondering if you saw anything.
I did not notice anything different, but one of the things that actually I was wondering about, but I didn't go back and check because I didn't watch the pre-fight show. But as it came out in the news when Ariel Helwani went through his trials and tribulations, the pre-fight and post-fight show are both paid for and produced by Zuffa. So if
Right,
Zuffa
right.
has sold the UFC, that's what I'm curious about. Will
Hmm.
production be taken over by Fox or Fight Pass? Even though Fight Pass is obviously owned by the UFC. So that's what I want to go back and look at because technically it was the first of the non-Zuffa era post UFC 202. And also ratings wise, despite the fact that it was a fun card and pretty much
Or
all finishes except for one, except for the women's bantamweight fight, was really an exciting card, but it was the lowest rated one of 2016 thus far. Is it
or
good?
does it stay a Zuffa produced show? Because that's a possibility too, because they're not leaving completely. They still have a minority sharehold
Yeah,
on the fight, and if
silent. Yeah.
they could have worked that into it, like, hey, we would still like to produce these shows, and that would also give a little bit of autonomy from the UFC. If it's produced by Zuffa, and then it's a non-UFC entity, then it's not. They're not. It's not the thing like Ariel Helwani was saying, where he felt weird about taking money from, even though he's actually physically getting it from Fox TV. It's coming from the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from Zuffa. He felt very weird about that. Like there's things he couldn't say or couldn't do because his bosses are the people that he's reporting on. So,
right.
There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about, and if you want to talk more about this Zuffa.
No, it's cool.
There's a
Like
couple
I said,
things I
it's a
wanted to
fluid
talk about.
situation. Yeah.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, I just I know that USADA did release that at least one of the things that John Jones tested for was estrogen blockers, which is usually a thing that's taken at the end of a steroid cycle that helps you flush it out of your system. It helps you return to normal and faster than if you didn't use it. And so it's not a steroid in a sense that it helps you. It's a performance enhancer. It's one of the things that masks performance enhancers. And so that was one of the things that he tested for.
Well, I knew it was really bad for John Jones because of kind of a weird way, because of the dramatic price drops in his T-shirt prices that were supposed to come out for UFC 200. It was a red shirt with gold print that said "Return to Greatness," and available now for less than half of the original price on MMAwarehouse.com and UFC.com. So yeah, 2 substances, one of them to mask against steroids. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. Ted, as a casual fan, were you pumped up about the Jones-Cormier fight in general?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a good one.
Yeah, you saw the back and forth.
Yeah. Now, but looking back in retrospect, John Jones seems like he was real angry because he's all high on steroids.
He was road raging at the press conference, stomping around with his old belt before he got the interim title. It's really bad. I don't know. There was a debate on the MMA Beat about whether you can call him the greatest of all time. Can you still call Anderson Silva the greatest of all time? Does performance enhancers prohibit you from saying that and feeling that way? I mean, technically, Barry Bonds is the home run champion. He's the RBI champion. But there's the steroids cloud that is the reason he's not yet in the Baseball Hall of Fame to make some sort of comparison. But I mean, he can come back in 2 years. He'll be 30 years old, but will he continue this path? I mean, will he be able to keep his nose clean, training and not fighting, just living a life in exile? What's he going to do? Do a podcast? A web series? What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know what his deal is. I mean, that's a pretty rough blow coming. I hate to feel sorry for the guy because I feel like all of the shit that's gone on in his life is all self-imposed.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel bad for him because and I shouldn't, because he's doing it all to himself. I don't know. I'm very torn. I'm very torn when I think about John Jones.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say.
Would you buy the T-shirt?
Here's what I'll say, and I'll stand by this. It's a very sad situation. It's very sad because he's a guy that could clean out the light heavyweight division again and clean out the heavyweight division as well. He's a guy that could definitely go down as the unequivocal greatest of all time. He could dwarf Anderson Silva in his accomplishments because he's still in his fucking prime.
Yeah.
He hasn't even reached his full potential yet. He's not even the best that he can be yet. You know? Fuck. And it just keeps running into a fucking wall. Sometimes literally.
Or a pregnant
or
woman.
a tree.
Yeah.
So
or over a wall.
It's just a sad thing. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. That's all I'll say about it. Another couple things that happened this weekend, 2 major grappling tournaments. The Eddie Bravo Invitational happened, and Metamora 7 happened. I think that EBI was also 7. I think it was Eddie.
They had Flow Combat, too. Chael Sonnen's promotion.
And Chael Sonnen's Flow Combat, which I haven't done any research on yet.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about that, you can report on it. But what I'll say is,
I didn't watch it. I thought about watching it Sunday. Actually, Ted and I went to a independent wrestling show that I wanted to bring up. We went to see Evolve in Melrose. I'll just bring this up real quickly because there was a former, and Ted, you can talk about the show as a whole, but there was a former UFC flyweight whose name I have somewhere in the flyer, but that wrestled. And they also did some UFC type shit where before the fight, the announcer reached behind the ref and put the microphone up while he said, "I went over the instructions at the back. Do you have any questions?" And then fight, and then lifted the arm up while holding both wrists at the end. Very bizarre, but mixed martial arts pageantry has taken onto the indie wrestling scene. But here's Ted for a review of the rest of the show while I go to look for it.
Oh, it was good independent wrestling. Another thing I know almost nothing about, but enjoy watching sometimes. As far as small independent wrestling production shows that I've been to, this was by far the best one. A lot of, I mean, it's pro wrestling, but these guys actually did seem like professionals, all of them. There were no like guys just sort of going through the motions. Uh, Only one real squash match. Everything else was
Hey, Darso.
they really put on a good show.
Are you here? Okay, I'll be right up. Keep talking. I've got special second guest Durso here.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna wrap this up in a few minutes next, so you can run your stuff by Ted. He'll take it from me. I think that the name of the fighter was Matt Riddle. UFC flyweight.
Yeah, Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle. He trained at Extreme Couture.
Yeah, he looked like he was 170 pounds.
So the Ultimate Fighter. I can't remember what season it was, but he was on one of the seasons of the Ultimate Fighter. He trained with Randy Couture for a while, and he was in the UFC until recently. So he was at this event, and how was he involved in it?
He wrestled. He wrestled a match. He won. He was okay. I think that was one of the more boring matches of the wrestling event. He seemed to sort of try to work in some like mixed martial arts moves into his wrestling performance, but
one of the scary things for me about the takeover from this new company of the UFC, and it worries me because you saw hints of it and glimpses of it under the Zuffa banner, little handshakes and deals done with professional wrestling. For me, as a pure mixed martial arts fan, I don't want the two things to be convoluted at all. I don't want them to be mixed. They're two different things. One thing is a soap opera, and one thing is guys putting the best athletes on the fucking planet doing battle against each other to see who the best man is or the best woman is on that given day. The other thing is
pageantry.
Is pageantry, and it's a TV show, and it's soap opera for grown men, and I don't want to convolute the two things. That's not what mixed martial arts is. Mixed martial arts is a sport with real motherfuckers that can go in there and do real shit, not dance around and do flips and all this paper tiger nonsense. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, great. They're actual athletes, and I don't take that away from guys that are professional wrestlers. They're athletes. It's what they do is hard, I'm sure. I can't take any of that away from them, but it's not a sport. It's not a sporting event, and it's not. I don't even like the word sports entertainment because it's not a sport. It's not a sport. That's just like you don't call CSI cop entertainment. It's just a fucking TV show about cops. It's not cop entertainment. You don't call Westworld cowboy entertainment. It's just a fucking show about cowboys. You can call it whatever. You can make a million options. I don't like even the calling it sports entertainment. I don't like. So I hope that they don't convolute the thing and become a more, that's my biggest fear, is that it just becomes one conglomerate nonsense machine that just doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't matter, and it's just some bullshit thing for you.
But if you think that, like, if they tried to force, the UFC to be more like, more entertainment based, more really pushing the fighters to, talk on the mic and build up hype and, artificial storylines and whatnot, like that, if that became more important than the actual fights, that the fans wouldn't go somewhere else, or the fighters themselves wouldn't go somewhere else.
I think that some would. I would. I don't. If you're going to try and turn it into a bunch of nonsense, I'm all set. I want to watch the sport of mixed martial arts. I don't give a shit about anything else. I don't care about the rest of it. But it might be the best thing financially they ever did. And it might turn into the biggest thing that ever happened on planet Earth. But I don't want to be part of it. And I don't give a shit about it. I want to watch mixed martial arts. If it turns into something that's professional wrestling, you can keep it. Because I'm not into it. I don't have a desire to watch it.
But I mean, I think, like, you know, boxing has really gone away, and I think it was because I think part of it has to do with the UFC becoming a thing, but also just like
I think it definitely does.
But like also just boxing, it stopped being as good. Like the best, you know, it's not as exciting as it once was. So, and I think if you
right at the end of it, you only had a few. You had Pacquiao, Mayweather, Roy Jones. You know, there was just a handful of guys that were really the top guys, and many of them are retired now. Oh, thank God! Oh, beautiful. Is there like a kiln? Do you have a? Can you reach around and do a pot? Have a potting wheel? It was a Ghost reference. I don't know. I couldn't put it together. Well, let's forget about that for a second. I don't want to think about what that could be and what it might be. I hope that it's not the case. If it is, I'll find another fucking thing to do with my life because I don't have any interest in it. But what I do have interest in is real wrestling and real grappling and real jiu-jitsu. And that's what happened this weekend at the Eddie Bravo Invitational. At the Eddie Bravo Invitational, Eddie Cummings he submitted all his matches and he retained his title. At the Eddie Bravo Invitational at Metamoris, there was the main fight between Halleck Gracie, who is the founder of Metamoris, and it's his first time competing in Metamoris, between him and Gary Tonin, who's arguably the best submission grappler on the planet these days. I mean, he's in the top 10 best submission grapplers that are doing it right now. If he's not the best, he's in that picture. He's in that top handful of guys. So he fought Halleck Gracie. It was a competitive match. There was some question about Gary Tonin's on the cutting edge of jiu-jitsu. He's constantly evolving. He's learning and evolving constantly. The question was if Halleck Gracie was still practicing the same jiu-jitsu that they were doing 20 years ago. And he showed some slick stuff. He escaped some good things. And he put a little pressure. And eventually he got caught in a knee bar, which was the only finish for the whole event. The rest of the fights on Metamoris went to a draw. And I haven't talked to Gonzaga yet, but he was supposed to. I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. He was supposed to fight Satoshi Ishii, and he had said that it was before Satoshi Ishii fought in Bellator, and Gonzaga said that he was going to be fighting him in Metamoris, granted that he was allowed the athletic commission would allow him to fight after his fight in Bellator. And so it was contingent on that. And so it was weird that Satoshi Ishii was still in the match, but Gonzaga wasn't. So I don't know why he pulled out, but I will be talking to him soon. I am going to be working on a couple of interviews, so they may or may not be at the end of this podcast. So if the next thing that you hear is my son going, "That's it, get out of here," and then you start hearing the advertisement for Team Link, that's the end of the podcast. If you keep listening, you might hear some interviews, and I'm working on 2 right now. Week before last at the Hall of Fame induction to the UFC, Pete Williams and Mark Coleman were inducted for their fight back in, I think it was 98 or 6, or 95, or I don't know. It was a long, long time ago. And it was a crazy fight. It was one of the most amazing head kick knockouts anybody had ever seen. And so that fight was inducted. Pete Williams was inducted. I've been talking to Pete Williams about doing an interview, so I might do one with him. I'm also talking with the Venezuelan vixen, Juliana Pena, about doing an interview. When I last contacted her, it was right during UFC 200 fight week, and it was like 3 or 4 days beforehand, and I'm sure she had lots of media obligations. So hopefully now it will be calmed down enough that she could maybe take a moment to talk to us. So I'm going to try and maybe bang those 2 interviews out in the next couple of days. So unless you have anything to add, or Matt has anything to add, I think we might be ready to wrap this thing up.
I just want to say, follow me on Twitter at Ted Pettingell. If you guys want to listen to my podcast, it's called Fart the Podcast. Yeah, it's just a bunch of people talking about silly nonsense.
Farts.
Yep, sometimes farts. There are some very fart-heavy episodes. There's some episodes where we don't talk about farts at all. Kona's been on at least once. That's aired. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. If you guys listen to this and you enjoyed the 3 funny things I said, hopefully they don't get edited out. It won't be on YouTube. It won't be.
Won't be edited out.
Yeah, I'll give it back to Kona, see what he has to say. But yeah, thanks for listening to me, guys.
Thanks, Ted.
Hey. Thanks,
Thank you,
Ted.
Thank you, Ted Pettingell, for.
You're welcome.
All right, predictions for Holly Holm versus Valentina the Bullet / the shooting victim Shevchenko, and I pick Holly Holm to win.
As do I.
And Gilbert Melendez returns against Edson Barboza.
I imagine that Barboza is the underdog in this one, but I like Barboza for this one, so I'm gonna go Barboza.
I do too. I think he hits like a fucking brick shithouse. Ted, what are your picks? You're a guest. You want to make a pick? Valentina Shevchenko, you saw some of her interview earlier, and Holly Holm, the woman who beat Ronda Rousey.
Since Kona picked the one broad, I'll pick the other broad.
Okay, Shevchenko. Since you've seen more recent interviews with her today, good pick. And how about Gilbert Melendez or Edson Barboza?
I like Barboza because he sounds like a pirate.
Okay, no love. Maybe I should change my pick because I have an Instagram photo with me and Gilbert Melendez in Vegas. So
Gibler. I like how you're calling him Gibler.
I need to get a Gilbert Melendez fight kit. I'm gonna have it.
Give me that Gibler.
I'm representing Mexico. Yeah, when they introduced at the very beginning, when they introduced the jerseys on stage.
Oh my God, it was Gibler.
It was Gilbert Melendez.
Oh my God, I want one of those, 100%.
It's great.
The thing I would buy a total fuck up. But I'm not paying
you gotta look
for their fucking shirts. It's too ridiculous.
Maybe you can make it your own, but just do a Google image search. Gilbert Melendez. That's a great one.
I would buy a Gibler for sure.
Just sounds so fun. It's a great Thanksgiving gift. Gilbert Melendez. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll see what happens. For expanded fight picks, follow us on Twitter, MMAniacs, and Mr. Nick NH, and at Matt Kona, at Ted Pettingell. Ted and I went shopping today. Rear Naked Jokes has been dormant, but I will bring it back. I just need more data. And yeah, there's more things to talk about. We'll maybe get together next week, or are you going to be able to watch the fight Saturday live? Saturday Night Live.
I don't know. I don't know yet. I will have to see how things play out.
Okay, well, if you are, maybe
we can... I will be watching them before we do the next podcast. So I'll come armed and prepared.
Oh, don't say armed.
Maybe I'll come down Saturday and hang out with you for a little bit.
I was gonna say, don't say armed. There's just a shooting victim in the main event. So okay, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll maybe we'll talk to you before next week. But
there was a shooting victim in the Bellator event. He got hit with a fucking missile in his forehead.
yes, although I found out
a scud missile right to his fucking dome.
Yes, a big knee, and a KO-KNE. All right.
Listen, I tell you, dude. Honestly, after seeing that, I just didn't even want to watch any fights. I just didn't. I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Well, also the main event wasn't as good, so you kind of makes it.
Yeah.
You should have stopped watching fights that night anyway. Great, MMAniacs. Follow us, leave a review, maybe get a book, send us an email. Send me a bad boy groin guard, and then hopefully we'll see. All right, Nick. Thanks, Ted, for being on.
Thanks you, Ted.
Durso.
Hi, Durso.
I'm still tagging Durso in this podcast.
Perfect. It's a credit. Give it.
All right.
Give him his credit.
Come on, MMAniacs.
Give the man credit where the credit's due. God damn it.
Yeah. Hey, 13 seconds. Some people have spent more time in it. All right. We'll see you later. People of all animal varieties. Good night. Yes.